football is a bloody, emotional gladiator sport. Sometimes, players put themselves before the game, compromising the integrity of the sport to get ahead of opponents by any means necessary. The players on this list became notorious for playing dirty, some even infamous for their actions. Today, we'll be showing you the downright dirtiest players in NFL history. Roy Williams. Roy Williams made his mark as a hard-hitting safety for the Cowboys, but not in a good way. His horse-collar tackles were so dangerous that the NFL had to create a rule to ban them. Even after the Roy Williams rule was put in place in 2004, he refused to stop, calling the rule crazy and continuing to drag players down by the collar, injuring multiple stars. By 2007, the league had enough and suspended him. Even his own teammates called him out for his reckless play. A talented player? Yes. But when fans hear his name, they don't think about his all-pro career. They remember the dangerous, dirty tackles that got him banned. James Harrison. James Harrison was built like the Steelers greats of old. He was underestimated, but his work ethic brought out his nasty style of play. Harrison quickly became known for his wicked hits, leaving players motionless and brutalized. A certified headhunter, fellow players gave him over 60% of the vote for most dangerous player in the NFL in 2012. His play rivaled those that came 30 years before him, before the danger of concussions was fully understood. When asked about his play style, Harrison didn't hold back. "I try to hurt people," and he meant it. Harrison's head-first knockout blows have helped him accrue $150,000 in fines and 20 missed games from suspensions, essentially making him the league's public enemy #1. In a hit on a Cleveland Browns receiver, Harrison's victim bent backward before falling unconscious to the ground. Harrison's response? "I would have killed him if I knew it was going to lead to a $75,000 fine anyway." Harrison's nasty style led to his great underdog story, but it also landed him a spot on this list. Rodney Harrison. Rodney Harrison was a hard-hitting safety and a multiple-time champion with the San Diego Chargers and New England Patriots from the late 1990s to the early 2000s. Players are taught to go all out between the whistles, but Rodney Harrison's reputation was that he never stopped playing, even after the whistle blew. Harrison became notorious for his late hits. When a publication polled NFL coaches and players in 2004, they voted Rodney Harrison the dirtiest player in the game. Then again in 2006, and again in 2008. When there's smoke, there's fire. Over his career, Rodney Harrison was fined over $200,000 for his illegal hits. His most notorious moment came in 2002 when he hit a defenseless Jerry Rice, striking him with his helmet and knocking him unconscious. Always looking for an advantage, Harrison was suspended for 4 games after testing positive for PEDs. He had a long and successful career, but it didn't come without controversy. Hines Ward is the only receiver on this list, which is rare because the wide receiver position is usually considered flashy. But Ward played more like the mascot of his alma mater, the Georgia Bulldogs. Ward is referred to as the greatest blocking receiver of all time, regularly springing big plays with his effort. Having some grit and nastiness is common when talking about great blockers, and Ward was no exception. The Steelers legend became notorious for throwing crushing blindside blocks when defenders couldn't even see him coming. Bengals linebacker Keith Rivers was on the wrong side of one of these plays. Ward struck him so hard that it broke his jaw, ending his season in seconds. Another Bengals player reiterated that Ward was known for dirty blindside blocks. Once Rodney Harrison retired, Ward immediately took the crown for the NFL's dirtiest player in 2009. Richie Incognito. Offensive lineman Richie Incognito's career has been marred with controversy both on and off the field. Violent, wicked, and cruel, words that don't describe a good person, but do describe a good NFL blocker. It's well documented that Richie Incognito is an awful person. From bullying teammates to losing his mind at his father's funeral, his intensity carried over to the football field. Incognito was anything but invisible to referees, stockpiling personal foul penalties throughout his career. When named the second dirtiest player in the NFL, Incognito boasted proudly, saying, "It's a badge of honor to get into my opponent's heads." Incognito is notorious for gouging eyes, punching players below the belt, and doing whatever it takes in the trenches. In a nasty altercation with Texans defender Antonio Smith, Incognito leg-whipped and tripped Smith multiple times, attempting to seriously injure him. When asked about the accusations, Incognito refused to deny them, and even refused to change his play style. Richie Incognito will go down as an enigma in the NFL, but not for good reasons. Jack Tatum. Compared to today's NFL, the 70s were like the Wild West. And even then, Jack Tatum was too vile and feared throughout the league. Nicknamed the Assassin for his jolting tackles from the safety position, Tatum assaulted offenses for a decade with the Oakland Raiders. As a part of a fearsome group of defenders, Tatum was the nastiest of the bunch. Tatum is best known for his paralyzing hit on Darryl Stingley. Stingley came over the middle to catch a pass when Tatum decked him in what was then a legal hit that struck him in the head and neck area. Stingley had to be carted off the field and was later diagnosed with a broken 4th and 5th vertebrae. He never played again and eventually died from his complications with the injury. Tatum never reconciled with Stingley and only tried to make contact near the end of his own life. Tatum showed little remorse for his play style and retired considered by most as one of the dirtiest players of all time. Conrad Dobler. Conrad Dobler has the prestigious honor of being named Sports Illustrated's dirtiest player in NFL history. An offensive lineman for multiple teams in his career, the accolade isn't much of a stretch for a guy who would spit at defenders before the snap. One of Dobler's friends, Phil Villapiano, deemed him a tough, rotten, nasty guy on the field. Dobler stretched the limits of legality on every play. The legend of Conrad Dobler. The biter grew throughout his career, if that's enough to tell you what kind of integrity he had. When asked about his reputation, Dobler said, "I'll do anything I can get away with." The charismatic lineman intimidated opponents, expecting to deal with his actions before and after the snap. Dobler used his nasty play as an equalizer for his lack of stature and strength compared to his opponents. It served him extremely well, but it didn't make him many friends in his playing days. Ndamukong Suh. At this point of the list, it's filled with players who did more than hit and block with intensity. Players this close to the top are downright poor humans willing to do anything to get an edge. That describes Ndamukong Suh perfectly. Suh had numerous run-ins with the Rule Committee, and there may not be a player with a longer dirty play highlight reel in NFL history. Suh lives in infamy for his cheap shots and late hits, especially to opposing QBs. Spearing Aaron Rodgers after the whistle was reprehensible. Attempting to punt Fitzpatrick's helmet was deplorable, and forearming Cutler after the snap was downright disgraceful. But stomping on Packers center Evan Smith's chest crossed the line for even the most rugged viewers of football. All of these actions have vilified Suh, garnering him attention from referees and yearly deductions in pay. If it was not for Suh's immense talent, I'd say he'd probably be blackballed from the league. Vontaze Burfict. The NFL today is built to maintain the player's safety in this violent game of football. That being said, there isn't a player that has sent the league back more than Vontaze Burfict. Burfict loves to strike players with the crown of his helmet, clearly attempting to injure people. In his most infamous moment, Burfict absolutely blasted Antonio Brown, knocking him unconscious. Some even think the hit changed Brown forever. What it definitely changed was the outcome of the game. The penalty enforced lost the Bengals the playoff game. Not just hitting defenseless receivers, Burfict has kneed QBs in the crotch, twisted Cam Newton's ankle after a play, and regularly dives at the knees of runners attempting to end their careers. Fortunately, his repeated offenses have led to the NFL ending his own career. Following his last unnecessary personal foul in 2019, Burfict was suspended for the entire season. After being released by the Raiders and reinstated, it seems like the league had chosen not to re-sign him in the prime of his athletic career. It's the right thing to do, as Burfict has taken a lot more from the league than he's brought to it. Bill Romanowski, the captain of the all-dirty team. Romanowski thinks it's fair to call him the dirtiest player ever. He also confirms that he would cross any line to stay above the line, meaning the four-time Super Bowl champion linebacker would do anything to win. Nothing is off-limits with Bill, who soccer-kicked Larry Centers in the head during a game. For most people, this altercation would be a dark cloud looming over their career. But for Romanowski, it became a yearly event. In a meaningless preseason game, Romanowski hit QB Kerry Collins high, breaking his jaw. A year later, Romanowski decided to fight his own teammate at practice, ripping his helmet off and punching him in the eye socket. The player had to retire. Romanowski was known for spitting and getting cheap shots on players, no matter the situation. You can say he was trying to get ahead, but it's clear Romanowski enjoyed it, playing dirty even when there's nothing to gain. The NFL has had its share of dirty players, but these guys took it to another level. Some used their brutal play style to gain an edge, while others flat out ignored the rules. From reckless hits to blatant cheap shots, these players left a controversial legacy that still gets talked about today. But now, it's your turn. Who do you think is the dirtiest player in the NFL right now? Drop your pick in the comments below.